Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Let Me Splain You Something. Today, we've got a couple of guests that are going to help explain us the pros and cons of renting versus buying in the Boston area. Now, this is a very unique market where we have a huge renter base here, and the cost of living is a good bit higher than most other parts of the country. So this debate here might look a little different than it does in certain other areas. But I don't want to step on the toes of our guests too much. So for debating the renter side, we've got Roger Sutton, who moved here a few years ago from the South. Say hi, Roger. Hey, Lou. Thanks for having me on the show today. And then for the buy side, we've got a longtime homeowner in the Boston area, Mr. Bill DeVito. You want to say, hey, Bill? Hey, kid, nice to be on your show or whatever it is. Bill DeVito, hey. And I'm not going to step on their toes too much more than this. Kind of let them give their take on renting versus buying. Yeah, so as Lou said, my name is Roger Sutton. I moved here from Alabama a few years ago, Roll Tide. And I tell you, I just love renting in the area. It gives me flexibility. You know, I live in the Back Bay right now, but before that, I lived in Beacon Hill. And it just wasn't really my thing. And so, you know, when my lease was up, I said, hey, I'll move to a different neighborhood. And, you know, one of the things that's great about renting is I kind of know what my costs are going to look like month to month, because if anything breaks in the apartment, I ain't got to fix it. You know, I call up the landlord, I say, hey, your hot water heater's busted, and he's got to send somebody out to take care of that. So that ain't my problem. And, you know, if my job ends here and I got to move back home or move back somewhere else, I ain't got to worry about, I got to sell this place. You know, that's somebody else's problem. I end my lease and I'll pack up my stuff and I'll get gone. So, you know, I know that rent every month is kind of, you know, throwing money away, but for this stage in our lives, I mean, it's working out real great for us. You know, the other thing about renting, you know, when you start looking at buying, I just worry about, do I have the funds to put together the kind of down payment that I'm going to need to get a nice place? Because I know it's a little expensive. You pay first, last, security deposit, move in an apartment, but I ain't got 20% to put down on buying a house or buying a condo right now. And so this is just working out better for me. Dude, listen, bought my house in '98, best decision I ever made, all right? Nice thing about owning a home, so number one, my costs month to month, fairly similar. You know, with rent, you get to the end of your lease, you don't know if your landlord's gonna jack up your rent. With my house, basically my mortgage payment stays the same. I mean, my taxes, you know, little change here and there, but for the most part, fairly similar. Maintenance costs do come up. You know, hot water heater goes, or, you know, my AC went last summer, I had to replace it. But for the most part, fairly predictable what that's going to look like. And I'm getting pretty close to paying off the house. So that's only a few more years I got to worry about the mortgage payment. Long-term wealth. Kid, let me tell you, buying in the Boston area, the prices, they just go up and up. My house, easily worth like double what I paid for it back in '98. And you get that stability, you know, everything kind of, I ain't got to worry about moving. I ain't got to think about, you know, landlord is selling the building and now I got to move out in 3 months. Like, that don't happen here. I get to keep the house. I still got the dent in the wall from where I sunk my fist through it when Brady left town. It's terrible. I'm still, you know, just let me calm down here. But it's, you know, long-term wealth, one of the best things we ever did for the family was buying this house, and I wouldn't change it. Well, listen, guys, we really appreciate y'all coming on the show and talking to us a little bit about your perspectives. It does seem that there are pros and cons to each side. I mean, obviously, renting is going to offer tremendous flexibility, whereas, you know, on the buy side, it's a great way to build long-term wealth, to create stability. Also, a lot of options over there, you know, kind of gives you the flexibility if you want to rent out that property or, you know, looking to that in the future. If you're wondering for yourself what might make the most sense for you and your family, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to have a consultation to kind of look at the numbers and help you make a long-term plan. We look forward to talking to you again soon.